Starting off our list today at number 10, we have Kanye West. After causing quite a stir in Hollywood, Kanye then went on to disappear, and everyone's been wondering where he could have taken off to. Billboard would then later publish an article that would state Kanye's former lawyers even spent months trying to track the star down, and it wasn't an easy process as Kanye had changed his phone number in the hopes of staying hidden. After being tracked down by his attorneys, they then went on to drop Kanye as a client. Just a few weeks after, Kanye would then be caught out in the public as he was spotted with a mystery woman. But the star has tried to remain out of the spotlight as much as he can. The public has since been led to assume that the real reason Kanye has gone into hiding is because of his financial woes, and he's also been running from a lawsuit that his ex-business managers have filed. Either way, it's probably best that he stays out of the spotlight at this time. Number 9. Armie Hammer. After Armie Hammer fell from grace, the former actor would disappear from the spotlight after facing some serious allegations from his former ex-girlfriends, claiming that he had these cannibalism fetishes. And there was even some accusations that Armie made unwanted gestures towards the woman. The first series of allegations were launched against the star in 2021, but until the release of the 2022 Discovery true crime docu-series House of Hammer that was released, the matters behind the accusations remained relatively quiet as the actor retreated from the spotlight following the allegations. Armie then tried to keep a low profile, and after going to rehab, it was later said that the actor was residing in the Cayman Islands alongside his estranged wife, Elizabeth Chambers, and their 2 young children. At the same time, it would also be rumored that the actor was working at a hotel on the island after he was cut off from his family's fortune. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming at number 8, we have Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. From starring in many TV shows and movies to their fashion business, Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen could be seen everywhere in the late 90s all the way to the early 2000s, but somewhere along the way, the twins just slowly started to disappear from the spotlight, and no one has heard a thing from the famous duo in years. Then out of nowhere in 2014, they would announce that they were retiring from acting, and they eventually launched 2 fashion lines called The Row and Elizabeth and James, which they still even own today, even following the controversies that followed the line. As in 2015, several of The Row's former interns took the company to court asking for payment for work they did on Mary-Kate and Ashley's fashion label. According to the lawsuit, The Row's interns were forced to work up to 50-hour weeks doing the same work as some of the full-time employees of their fashion line. Yet the lawsuit lead plaintiff then claimed the interns were also treated very poorly by the Olsen's company. Even with the lawsuit, there still isn't much buzz about the brand these days compared to when they first launched the companies, and that's probably because the clothes just aren't that nice and you pay $5,000 just to wear a sheet when you can go to Walmart and buy that sheet for $5. Number 7. Cameron Diaz. Former Hollywood it girl Cameron Diaz was on the road to have a very successful career, but then out of nowhere she slowly started to disappear from the entertainment industry, and it would slowly start to happen after fans started to claim that she was actually pretty rude to interact with. While Cameron has claimed that she left Hollywood on her own terms by telling In Style in 2019, "I've given more than half of my life to the public. I feel like that's okay for me to take this time for myself." Her statement would come just after Hollywood pretty much closed their doors on her. While the star has since been enjoying her time away from the spotlight, in 2020 she did announce the birth of her daughter, and she's been focusing her free time on being an amazing mother. Number 6. Amanda Bynes. I honestly miss seeing Amanda Bynes on the big screen because as a child, I really just couldn't wait to get home to watch the Amanda Bynes Show or any of the movies she starred in like She's a Man, Sydney White, and Hairspray. Amanda was seriously one of the most talented child stars and one of Nickelodeon's best success stories, who managed to turn that into a thriving movie career. But then out of nowhere she started to struggle around 2012 after the star was charged with driving under the influence and then charged with 2 hit and runs. She would then spend 3 years under probation. Just when we thought the star was done spiraling out of control, her troubles with the law continued long afterwards, and it eventually became clear that she was suffering from some type of underlying issues like Britney Spears endured when she ended up under a conservatorship. Today it seems like Amanda is happy and back on track as she's now studying studying to be a nail tech, and shortly we should see her in the salon doing some amazing work. Number 5. Meg Ryan. At one point, Meg Ryan served up some of America's best and most memorable romantic comedies, and then one day she just seemed to disappear from the spotlight. It would all come after her marriage started to crumble, and then the headlines started to smear her name as they claimed she cheated on her husband while she was on set of Proof of Life. After the star cheated on her husband to get with Russell Crowe, she would find it really hard going forward to find work. Now, the actor wouldn't exactly disappear, but she has preferred to keep a low profile these days. And when she does work on set, most of her work is actually behind the camera as a producer and a director, which is honestly disappointing as her face deserves to be seen in front of the screen. Number 4. Drake Bell. Drake Bell used to be a major heartthrob in the 90s, but after he was accused of endangerment charges towards a younger person after a female victim claimed that she met him online and that he made unwanted advances towards her, he would then plead guilty, and every door in Hollywood would start to close the door on him. Eventually, the star would take to Instagram to address his recklessness and irresponsible text when he issued an apology to his fans, but then he also went on to claim that he wasn't telling us the claims were false, but that the state of Ohio actually proved that the claims were false. And if the claims were true, he wouldn't be at home with his wife and son. But then later, even Josh Peck would call out Drake Bell, and he would speak about their longtime feud that started when Drake called out the star for not being invited to his wedding. But pretty much, Drake then went on to say some hurtful things, and Josh even asked the star to apologize to his wife. Today, Drake has tried everything to stay away from the spotlight, but it just seems his name every now and then keeps getting smeared across the headlines. Number 3. Felicity Huffman. After the college admission scandal rocked the world largely because big-name celebrities were embroiled in the scheme, one of the most notable people caught in the falsifying documents was Felicity Huffman. And since she has avoided making public appearances, compared to other celebrities caught in the scandal, Felicity's legal woes seem to be far less severe because she took the responsibility for her actions in a guilty plea where she expressed genuine remorse. She then went on to serve 11 days of her 14-day jail sentence and paid a $30,000 fine and was required to work 250 hours of community service for paying $15,000 to save her daughter's SAT scores. After gaining sympathy from the public instead of rushing back to rebuild her Hollywood career, she has since been focused on helping others. Number 2. Lori Lolligan. Following the college admission scheme, Lori would find her name being embroiled within the mess, and with it, she would be ousted by Hallmark's parent company, Crown Media, after she was charged with conspiracy to commit mail fraud in connection with the scheme. When Lori appeared in court and was released on a $1 million bail, it would then be revealed that she and her husband agreed to pay $500,000 to guarantee that 2 of their daughters got into the University of Southern California as members of the road team, even though neither of them were athletes. The scandal would then impact Lori's career as Crown Media would announce it was cutting ties with the Full House star. Now, Lori was able to reprise her role in a Hallmark Christmas spin-off just after, but other than that, no one's been throwing roles her way, and it's probably for a good reason, as you can't cheat your way through life just because you have money. And coming in number 1 today, we have Thomas Gibson. In August of 2016, Thomas Gibson would be involved in an on-set altercation with Virgil Williams, a writer and producer of the show Criminal Minds. While Thomas was directing an episode of the show, he apparently kicked Williams and was initially suspended for 2 episodes. Thomas would then release his own statement by saying, "There were creative differences on set and a disagreement. I regret that occurred. We all want to work together as a team to make the best show possible. We always have and always will." Later that week, ABC Studios and CBS would then announce that Thomas had been ultimately fired, and it would then be stated that this wasn't his first altercation on the set, as he was even forced to attend anger management classes in the past. When the studio realized it wasn't helping, they ultimately made the decision so they could keep everyone on set safe, because he just couldn't keep his hands to himself. Starting off our list today at number 10, we have Will Smith. The whole world has been talking about the infamous slap that happened at the 2023 Oscars, to the point it's just old and everyone needs to stop talking about it. However, with a handful of celebrities such as Jim Carrey, Amy Schumer, Zoe Kravitz, and many more speaking out about Will's actions, it has caused Hollywood to turn their backs on this brilliant actor, and it would start the cancellation process of Will Smith. Sony would then announce that they would have to put Bad Boys 4 on hold, and Netflix would also backburn Fast and Loose. CAA then started to discuss if they should drop Will as a client. Smith then canceled himself by quitting the Academy, and the Academy then went on to ban him from attending the ceremony for the next 10 years. And we still don't don't know what this means for the star within this period of time, and we're just going to have to wait and see. Number 9, James Franco. Back in 2014, James would be exposed for going on Instagram and asking a girl when he was outside a theater in New York if she was 18. She then told the actor she was actually 17. He then went on to ask her the name of the hotel she was staying at and if he should get a room in the same hotel as well. Later in an interview on ABC Live with Kelly and Michael, the actor would then explain the encounter by saying, "I used bad judgment and I learned my lesson." Then in 2018, 4 female students from his Studio 4 acting school in North Hollywood told Los Angeles Times that James had compromised his position as a teacher to make unwanted moves and exploit them. With 2 of those girls going on to sue James, the actor would then have to fork out $2.23 million after he settled the case. Seth Rogen, his longtime collaborator and pal, also went on to drop James, and he would later tell the Times at London that the scandal changed his relationship and that he had no plans to work with Franco in the future, which became the end of the pair's 20-year partnership. James then made an appearance on the Jess Cagle podcast in 2021, where he admitted that he slept with his acting prodigies and that it was wrong, before claiming he had struggled with addiction and that being dismissed by Seth was actually a really hurtful experience for him to go through. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming back to our list, in the number 8 spot, we have Kanye West. It's hard to know where to start with Kanye West's long list of controversies, as not only has the star been accused of cyberbullying his ex-wife Kim Kardashian and her old partner Pete Davidson, but he's also made some anti-Semitic statements that has everyone wondering if the star is really doing this as a cry for help. Kanye's obsession with trying to control and manipulate the situation has caused his career to plummet, and he lost out on huge business deals not only with Gap and Adidas, but also with Balenciaga. On top of that, he was even dropped by his agent. Now, it's unclear with how long the rapper will be canceled for, but one thing is for sure is that even when we should be keeping him out of the spotlight, outlets just keep scheduling interviews and pushing him to his limits, to the point his unhinged moments have become more unhinged, and every time it's like we see something we've never seen before. Number 7, Armie Hammer. Armie Hammer has been pinned by some disturbing allegations from his former flame, Effie Angel Nova, when she accused him of making unwanted advances and fantasizing about cannibalism. And then another ex would claim that Armie carved an A into her pelvis, and that he even asked her to have a rib removed surgically so he could eat it. And if things couldn't get any worse, an app developer who dated Armie for 5 months in 2020 also made the same claims, and on top of that, she said the actor liked the idea of having skin in his teeth. Now, Armie's lawyers have gone on to deny all the allegations by saying any interactions with any of his partners were completely consensual and that they were fully discussed, agreed upon, and it was a mutual participation. After the allegations were released, the divorced dad would go on to be dropped out of the film Shotgun Wedding, the Paramount Plus series The Offer, and the Broadway show The Minutes. In February 2022, a close friend to the actor would then tell the Post that his acting career should be coming back any day now, but that still hasn't happened and it probably won't. Number 6, DaBaby. When DaBaby was caught making homophobic remarks at a music festival in Miami back in 2021, he would end his career after he made some comments that dissed the LGBTQ+ community. Then later he went to try to clarify his views, and he only dug his hole even deeper to crawl out of after he doubled down on his claims. So DaBaby then got ripped apart by the LGBTQ+ community, and even celebrities like Madonna, Elton John, and Dua Lipa called him out for his insensitive comments. The fashion brand Boo Hoo Man even bolted on a deal they had with him. He would then find himself being booted from the 2022 Lollapalooza tour, and his concert in Atlanta was called off amid a flurry of cancellations for his concerts, including a radio station putting his music into a timeout. DaBaby then went on to embrace his plummeting stock and declared himself cancelled in a new version of his hit Whole Lotta Money, where he cries and laughs off his current situation. Coming at number 5, we have Gina Carano. Gina Carano is a former MMA fighter turned Mandalorian star who angered some fans with a series of politically charged social media posts after the star made an anti-Semitic statement and paired them with American politics in 2021. She also went on to use a slew of hate towards the Jewish community before adding, "How is it any different from hating someone for their political views?" The actress later came under fire again when she decided to make fun of transgender people on Twitter by saying she preferred the pronouns beep, bop, boop. In the wake of her anti anti-Semitic comments, the hashtag #FiredGinaCarano began to trend on Twitter, which resulted in Disney to sever ties with her, and her management company, United Talent Agency, dropped her as a client as well. And where are you gonna go without your agency? Nowhere. Number 4. Chrissy Teigen. After ex-swimsuit model Chrissy Teigen was accused of bullying Courtney Stodden in the beginning of 2011 after Courtney was 16 and married 51-year-old Lost actor Doug Hutchinson, Courtney would claim that Chrissy wouldn't just tweet her things about her needing to take a dirt nap, but the model would also tell Courtney she wished she would just pass away in her DMs. Courtney would then spark fashion designer Michael Cotello and teen mom Vera Abraham to come out with their stories where they claimed Teigen bullied them as well. Teigen then quit her role as a narrator on the hit show Never Have I Ever, and she was then replaced by Gigi Hadid. It was then reported that her cookware line disappeared from Macy's and that Bloomingdale's had dropped her from their deal. Chrissy also had to back out of a planned cleaning products line that she was working on with Kris Jenner. Chrissy then tried to apologize to everyone, including Courtney, but the apology just wasn't genuine, and it was more just an attempt she made to try to save her career. Number 3. Matt Damon. When Matt Damon infuriated the LGBTQ+ advocates when he told the Sunday Times of London in August of 2021 that one of his daughters had taken him to task months ago for using a homophobic slur in a joke, the 51-year-old actor then went on to defend the comments in a statement, later claiming that the Times interview led many to assume the worst, and then he went on to say that he never called anyone that word in his personal life, and it was just a conversation that he was having with his daughter, and it was not a personal awakening, before claiming he doesn't use any types of slurs towards anyone. While Matt went on to receive a huge amount of hate online, he hurt many fans in the process, and because of this, the actor hasn't really gotten many gigs in acting and directing. As the scandal did break, Matt was promoting his film Stillwater, which took in a disappointing $2 million at the box office, and The Last Duel also flopped as it earned just $30 million. Meaning, Matt won't be offered any directing gigs anytime soon because he's costing production companies an insane amount of money because his films aren't living up to what it's bringing in. Number 2, we have Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle was slammed for making jokes about the LGBTQ+ community in October of 2021. Netflix special The Closer. GLAAD then released a statement saying Dave Chappelle's brand has become synonymous with ridiculing trans people and other marginalized communities. Dave would then be booed and protested by some students when visiting his high school in Washington, D.C., and in February it would be announced that Dave would be producing 4 more comedy specials. And then he went on to shrug off all his backlash by saying, "Is this what's being cancelled is like? I love it." He has since continued to perform and was nominated for a 2022 Grammy, but more and more people continue to refuse to work with the star, and I don't blame them. And coming in number 1 today, we have J.K. Rowling. Harry Potter author caused a storm with her social media post about the transgender community, starting in 2019 when she supported a British woman who was fired from her job after making transphobic tweets. 6 months later, J.K. then piled on with her own snarky tweet about menstruation. She then went on to pen an essay on her personal website explaining her position but not putting out any fires. In addition to ongoing backlash, fans and Harry Potter stars Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, Rupert Grint have all taken the author to task, to the point JK even skipped the HBO reunion special for the 20th anniversary. Even with her cancellation, it seems like the author is just becoming richer as she continues to make deals and produce more movies in the franchise she created. Starting in at number 10, we have Antonio Brown. Former NFL wide receiver Antonio Brown would find himself under fire from fans and other celebrities after he chose to stand by Kanye West after Kanye made some anti-Semitic comments. Antonio, who played in the NFL back in 2021, said he will still remain in his role as president for Donda Sports, which is Kanye's sport agency. With Antonio remaining true to its mission of Donda, he's also channeled his buddy's controversial campaign by saying and supporting Kanye's WLM movement. Kanye has had a lot of criticism over his WLM shirt that he wore during his Yeezy fashion show. Despite the negative reactions, he has still gone on to make headlines for anti-Semitic comments. Overall, the controversy, both Antonio and Kanye have started to become really close friends, and they've even started to work on some music with each other. It also seems like Kanye isn't the only one doing some pretty odd things lately, as Brown has had his own share of controversy when a video that was released back in October showed himself exposing himself to a woman in Dubai. With Antonio calling calling Kanye's comments reactionary and selective outrage, he will continue to bring his new ideas, experiences, and design to our world while remaining in support of the humanity Kanye is bringing into the world. Number 9. Kim Kardashian. While we all notice the prospect of an epic, especially revolting fashion industry scandal unfolding, the response of some of the world's biggest celebrities caused many of us to be dumbfounded for continuing to support Cedric Charbit and the brand he represents as the CEO for Balenciaga. Just days before America's Thanksgiving holiday, the fashion house of Balenciaga would trigger some major backlash for its 2022 holiday advertising campaign, which toyed with some of the most deprived evils known to man, with the campaign exploiting children. When the photos emerged of little girls holding onto handbags that were shaped like teddy bears, wearing some pretty outrageous gear, and a childlike drawing of a devil, we were all left feeling sick. At the end of the controversy, Balenciaga would try to claim that their plush bear bag should have never featured children in its campaign, and that they had no idea that the advertisement contained these images because they never approved the images. However, knowing that all companies have the final say to anything hitting the media, we all knew this was one giant lie made for the company to try to save their reputation. Kim Kardashian still choosing to stand by Balenciaga, a brand she seems to get all of her leotarded gloved outfits from. After days of being silent, she would say, "I appreciate Balenciaga's removal of the campaign and apology. In speaking with them, I believe they understand the seriousness of the issue and will take necessary measures for this to never happen again." While Kim has decided that she will be reevaluating her relationship with the brand, many of us have been disgusted at the fact that Kim is being a coward for not immediately cutting ties off with the brand, and we're honestly all disappointed that she is a grown-up with her own children who should be protecting other children, but instead she's failing to protect the most innocent and vulnerable by supporting a brand that is always out here showing huge levels of controversy consistently. Hey Peaches, are you enjoying this video so far? If so, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming in at number 8, Diddy. When Diddy decided to hop on the newest train in pop culture that revolved around cancel culture, many fans were pretty disappointed in his decision. When Diddy went on to say, "As a music family, none of us are saints, none of us are out here without things that happen to them in life." When the 2022 Billboard Music Awards came around, Diddy squarely stood behind Org's decision to invite Travis Scott and Morgan Wallen to perform, while explaining that one of the things he wants to do is cancel the uncancel, as the trend needs to be stopped. He would also go on to say that Travis went through a tragedy and Morgan hurled the N-word while talking to his boy. People make mistakes. Now we're moving forward on with love and respect for everybody that was hurt or affected. It's time to forgive. However, some actions are just unforgivable. As Morgan had been canceled from 7 award shows last year, after the incident rose, his music sales would actually rise during the period. As for Travis Scott, on the other hand, he pretty much was sidelined for months after the Astroworld tragedy, having 100,000 people present and asking them to search the stage and ignoring an ambulance in the crowd was just disappointing to see, and the fact that he is out here supporting it is just heartbreaking. Number 7, Bella Thorne. So last year when Armie Hammer's fantasies were exposed and some unverified screenshots would show Armie making some pretty serious claims when it came to his fantasies, although the topic was trending online, many celebrities choose to remain silent about the situation except for actor Bella Thorne, who took to her Instagram to defend. She would say, "I honestly can't believe this. People are crazy to fake this kind of stuff. Poor guy and his kids, like, leave his family alone. No way, he's a freak. Also, there's a million fake screenshots going around." People would certainly begin to criticize Bella's support by saying Bella Thorne is trash. How do some people still not see this? And Armie probably wasn't thinking about the good of his children when he told these girls about his fantasies, with Bella believing that she had more insight and wisdom when it came around to how Armie Hammer used his power to push boundaries with other women. The fact that she can sit here and claim that she's an ally to women and survivors, but doesn't let women have the chance to share their stories before claiming it as fake DMs, caused a lot of people to tell the star that no one actually asked for her opinion. Coming in at number 6, we have Bill Gates. When Bill Gates admitted that he was fundraising meetings that were held with late billionaire GE, he would discuss that the role that his relationship had with Jeffrey played a huge part in his divorce with Melinda Gates. When Bill sat down with Sunday Times, he would say that he didn't realize that by having those meetings, it would be seen as giving Jeffrey credibility. "You're almost saying saying I forgive that type of behavior or something so clearly that the way it's seen that I made a huge mistake not understanding that. With Melinda speaking publicly about her separation from Bill, she would tell CBS that many things ultimately contributed to her decision to end the pair's marriage. She would then reveal a bunch of secrets that included that there were whispers for years about Gates' extramarital relationships for people who work for him, and that his behavior was known as an open secret. Bill has always been scheduling off-site meetings that weren't on his calendar, with Jeffrey having multiple employees of Bill and Melinda's foundation visit his mansion and speak to the foundation about a proposed dollar charitable fund after he served jail time. And number 5, Sharon Osbourne. When Piers Morgan voiced his disbelief in what Meghan Markle had to say about her mental health to Oprah, he would face the wrath of thousands of fans. When Sharon Osbourne would tweet her support for her longtime friend, this would cause an confrontation with the talk co-host Cheryl Underwood, who would then ask Osbourne on air if she was a racist. Shortly after, the two would engage in this huge altercation, and the conflict would start an investigation by CBS, which would force Sharon to apologize. Sharon, in writing, would then say, "To anyone of color that I offended, or to anyone that feels confused or let down by what I said, I'm truly sorry," she wrote in a statement. "I panicked, felt blindsided, got defensive, and allowed my fear and horror of being accused of being a racist take over." After her statement in support for Piers Morgan continued, she would face further claims by her colleagues' remarks, which some she would go on to admit to and some she would deny. Osbourne would then join her friend Piers on Talk TV, where the presenters hold nothing back and say what they feel, and not following one party at all. And number 4, James Charles. After Charli D'Amelio uploaded a YouTube video that many people considered offensive as it showed her and her sister Dixie spitting out food in front of a personal chef, many users would deem it inappropriate. James Charles, who was also at the dinner, wouldn't be called out for any inappropriate behavior, surprisingly, like Charli and Dixie. However, that didn't stop him from speaking his mind about cancel culture and the D'Amelios dropping followers. James would go on to say, "The Charli situation is not sitting right with me right now. 100 million followers in 1 year, and y'all expect her to know how to be a perfect role model?" Backlash because she's a picky eater, and made a joke about milestones. 30-plus-year-olds dragging someone half their age. Feels familiar. However, I think a lot of people weren't upset about the fact that the girls didn't like the food, but the fact that they were beginning to spit up the food in front of the chef and making hurtful comments about it. The fact James tried to support this toxic behavior is just a little outrageous, because even with age, you can't justify someone's poor table manners, because we were all taught better to react during these situations at a young age. And number 3, Boozy. After the baby made some homophobic remarks during his set at the 2021 Rolling Loud Festival in Miami, Boozy would take to his Instagram Live to rant about the displeasure of people canceling the baby over his remarks. Shortly after the baby's performance, even Lil Nas would make a joke that him and Jack Harlow would be wearing nothing during the VMA's performance while performing Industry Baby for charity, and this also really didn't sit well with Boozy, as he would claim no one should be picking sides over the baby saying some wild things. Boozy definitely wasn't done with his rant, and he would continue on in another video about his outrage over Lil Nas's announcement, with several artists, including thousands of fans, speaking out against the baby's extremely hurtful remarks that were made. All Boozy did was add more fuel and stigma to the discrimination that surrounds the LGBTQ community. The mistruths that were used by the baby and supported by Boozy had no place in society, and the fact that the musicians used their voice to spread so much hate towards the most marginalized people in our community is just saddening. Boozy's out here saying people shouldn't be taking sides, yet he took sides to spread hate instead of using his voice for good. At number 2, Bo Derek. Now, the Kardashian family has been slammed for blackfishing for years, especially when it comes to their braids. When Kim Kardashian West was accused of cultural appropriation after crediting actress Bo Derek as the inspiration behind her box braids, she would even go on to credit the braids as Bo Derek braids. Now, Bo Derek would come to the star's defense. So Bo Derek, who is now 61, wore her hair like this while she was in the 1979 film 10, which featured the star running down a beach. Bo Derek would take to her Twitter account to say, "Hey, it's just a hairstyle that I worked on in the movie 10. Kim Kardashian calls it Bo Derek braids because she copied my pattern of braids. I copied it from Anne Margaret's backup singer from her Las Vegas show. And we all copy Queen Nefertari. I hope Her Royal Highness is flattered." While Derek has referred to the Egyptian queen, The two came under fire for not recognizing the styles and the history and origins and framing the looks as something new or edgy. Many people have been forced to cut their braids out, to play sports, or even to attend class, so both celebrities not understanding the hurt braids can cause was the concept of culture vulturing, and it was pretty disappointing to see. And at number 1 today, we have Nikita Dragun. When the drama between James Charles and Tati Westbrook erupted online, things would become more complicated after Tati would reveal James was manipulating men that were still emerging into adulthood. Tati would also reveal that James was spreading lies about her and betraying her after she spent years helping him with his brand. After Nikita Dragun showed the screenshots that Sugar Bear agreed to give Charles influencer tickets if he did a promotion, she would force herself into a situation that definitely didn't look good on her image. Especially when James told Tati he was being swarmed by crazy fans to even get those tickets. Over the years, James has become a huge controversial figure, and Nikita has consistently defended the star and has stayed by his side in the wake of all his bad behavior with James manipulating younger men. Nikita couldn't even understand the gravity of those topics, and she's continued to support James even when more of the situation became to come into light.
Number 10. Gina Carano. Gina was slowly building a name for herself in the early 2010s as a woman to be feared on screen, portraying characters like Riley Hicks in the Fast and Furious franchise, and her most recent role as Cara Dune in The Mandalorian, a series that has decided to move on without Miss Carano on set, for the simple fact that she is just very misguided on her views towards everything in existence. In 2021, Carano made a series of politically charged social media posts, the most damning of which came when she compared modern American political polarization to camps in Germany in 1945. Those are very different things. She has also mocked the usage of face coverings during 2020 and was one of the many celebrities who were claiming voter fraud following Donald Trump's loss during election time. To throw the cherry on top of the trash sundae she was making, Gina also made her opinions on pronouns known, claiming that hers were beep boop beep boop. Yeah, well hey, beep this out. You, Gina! All of this combined eventually culminated in the hashtag FireGinaCarano on Twitter, which began trending fast, forcing Disney as well as her management company to cut their ties with Gina. Needless to say, The Mandalorian is doing just fine without her, and the rest of Hollywood is glad that she dug herself into a deep, dark, cringy grave. Number 9. Shia LaBeouf. Shia has been a controversial celebrity over the years for sure, becoming famous as one of the hardest people to work with in Hollywood history. Like many bad apples in LA, Shia got his start on the Disney Channel. At the turn of the century, Disney released a little show called The Even Stevens. The series followed the titular Stevens family with a focus on the kids Ren and Louis, played by Christy Romano and Shia LaBeouf. The show is considered to be one of Disney's best, spanning 3 seasons and spawning an Even Stevens movie that is still one of the greatest pieces of cinema ever released. These days, Shia has adopted more of a mountain man look. He always looks like he's got a big bushy beard whenever he can, and he has gone from bright and youthful to just tired and annoyed. I feel that, man. Following the show's end, Shia kept his acting career going strong, appearing in much-loved classics like Holes as main character Stanley Yelnats, but it wasn't until his casting in the live-action Transformers series that he began to descend into madness. Since 2007, Shia's behavior as both an actor and a person has been getting worse and worse. His fellow actors have reported that Shia takes method acting way too far and smells terrible on set, not to mention the several public art displays that he gifted the world in the mid-2000s. Oh, and who could forget his passionate, motivational video where he told us that nothing was impossible and we could just do it? While he may still be working today, he's usually the one that's like backing the projects he's in. In the eyes of Hollywood and, well, from most of us, Shia canceled himself the minute he stood in front of a green screen and yelled at the top of his lungs, "Do it! Nothing is impossible!" Number 8. DaBaby. The rapper formerly known as Baby Jesus, and I will always remind you of that because that is a weird fact. DaBaby has always had a bad boy streak in the music industry. He's known for dropping some choice expletives on stage all the time, and even makes fun of his fans right to their faces. This unfortunately culminated in him deciding that it was appropriate to joke about a certain disease that's unnecessarily linked to the gay community. On stage, he told his fans to put up their cell phones if they didn't have any STIs. eyes. Honestly, he said a lot of weird stuff before saying the words "put your phones in the air," like he was playing some kind of a massive game of Guess Who. It's like, alright, if you have brown hair, put your hair down. It's just weird. Just don't do that to people. Of course, he was torn to shreds by the LGBTQ+ community, including icons Elton John, Madonna, and one of his collaborators, Dua Lipa. Not only did he cancel himself, but he was actually set to release a clothing line with fashion brand Boohoo Man, but they backed out following the public outcry. To top it all off, two of his biggest performances set to take place at Lollapalooza and a concert in Atlanta were cancelled amid the flurry of complaint calls and emails that the venue had been receiving. DaBaby actually called himself cancelled on Twitter, joking about the whole situation while just one single tear rolled down his face. Number 7. James Franco. James has placed himself in a little bubble of public exile for using his powers for evil. The man behind some iconic characters like his portrayal as the real-life filmmaker Tommy Wiseau, or his role as Harry Osborn in the original Spider-Man trilogy, or just so many more, he seemed to be on the way to a long, successful career following multiple collaborations with longtime friend Seth Rogen, as well as his turn in more serious roles like True Story as a man on death row telling his tale of woe to a writer played by Jonah Hill. Apparently though, James has a problem keeping his hands to himself, especially when it comes to his acting students. In 2018, 5 female students at his Studio 4 acting school in North Hollywood told the Los Angeles Times that Franco had parlayed his position to exploit them physically. 2 of those women sued, and Franco was forced to settle outside of court and fork over $2.23 million. At that time, he was writing, acting, and directing a show for HBO called The Deuce, which, he was allowed to stay on and finish because hey, it was being cancelled anyway. Not only did fans call for the cancellation of the series, but the public outcry forced Seth Rogen to drop his longtime pal, telling the Times of London that the scandal had changed their relationship and he had no plans to collaborate with James anytime in the near future. So there's a simple lesson to this one, folks. If you don't want to cancel yourself, keep your hands to yourselves. Number 6. Chrissy Teigen. Chrissy cancelled herself by being the meaniest, bobeaniest woman on the internet. In May of 2020, an individual by the name of Courtney Stodden, a pageant model and media personality, claimed that fellow model and media star Chrissy Teigen had publicly bullied them online for years. Chrissy was accused of regularly tweeting that she wished Courtney would just take a permanent dirt nap, or straight up just end herself. Find a bridge and just Apparently Chrissy harbored some kind of jealousy towards Courtney's success and decided to take it online instead of, just not publicizing her personal problems. Chrissy quickly apologized for the tweets and DMs, which were sent as recently as 2019. In one of her last posts, she tweeted, "I'm sad and mortified at who I used to be. I was an insecure, attention-seeking troll, and I'm ashamed and completely embarrassed at my behavior. But that is nothing compared to how I made Courtney feel." Chrissy then decided to delete her social medias, because that makes you look good, following a slew of backlash of her actions, eventually leading to her being fired or leaving any job that she had both on and off the screen. Next time, Chrissy, just keep your jealousy balled up deep inside of you like the rest of us, eh? Maybe you'd still have a career. Just maybe. Just a little bit. Number 5. Ellen DeGeneres. Ellen had one of the most successful daytime talk shows of all time until 2020. Her show became overwhelmed with accusations of toxic work environment from former employees. They were claiming that Ellen's happy exterior was nothing more than a facade put in place to keep the audience on her team. A small bit of proof came when she accused 50 Shades of Grey actress Dakota Johnson of not inviting her to a birthday party a few months prior. Dakota reminded her that she had in fact sent an invitation and received a notice from her producer that said that she didn't want to attend. Fans began questioning the awkward moment, and the cracks in her appearance grew bigger and bigger. Eventually, an article was released containing testimonies from several former employees, with too many stories to have been a false narrative. Ellen canceled herself by denying every single thing that she was being accused of instead of just acknowledging her faults and missteps as a boss. Instead, Ellen's fans took to Twitter demanding that she respond to the articles and the claims that she was herself a short-tempered tyrant. Well, she didn't respond as you may think with like a public apology, no. Instead, she was forced to cancel both herself and her show amid the controversy and has been on a hiatus ever since. Oh well, more time for Kelly Clarkson. Number 4. J.K. Rowling. Alright, all you Harry Potter fans, cover your ears because this one sucks. J.K. Rowling is known for being the author of the much-loved Harry Potter Potter book series that was eventually adapted into 7 gloriously magical movies, and Order of the Phoenix. In June 2020, Rowling retweeted an op-ed piece that discussed people who menstruate, apparently taking issue with the fact that the article did not use the word women. She tweeted, "People who menstruate. I'm sure there used to be a word for those people. Someone help me out. Woman, wimpunt, womud." Oh man, every time I read that, steam comes out of my ears. I don't like this woman. While this tweet garnered massive amounts of backlash from fans, Rowling doubled down on her views in more detail. She tweeted out, "If gender isn't real, there is no same-gender attraction. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of gender removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives." Okay. She went on to say she respected trans people's right to live any way that feels authentic to them. At the same time, my life has been shaped by being a female. She then claimed that it wasn't wrong to speak the truth and be proud of your opinions, but hey, yeah, it is. Everyone in the world called JK out for her comments and views, with the live-action Harry Potter stars even taking to Twitter to call out her behavior and stand with the trans community. JK's publishers dropped her from their rosters, and the future of her writing career has gone up in smoke like it was straight out of the Death Eater's bum bum. If she had just kept her opinions to herself, maybe The Cursed Child would be an awesome movie instead of an okay play. Just saying, JK, go away, let us do stuff with your properties, please. Number 3, Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle dominated the comedy scene in the 1990s and early 2000s. His stand-up was considered to be the most gut-busting and entertaining around, and his role in films like The Nutty Professor, Robin Hood Men in Tights, and the cult classic Half-Baked made him a massive star. He took a bit of a break from starring in films to focus on his family life and his true passion, stand-up comedy. Despite being on stage for over 12 years though, Dave never really learned to follow suit with the times. There were just, certain topics that have become rude to joke about, and many jokes considered to be funny in the 80s and 90s just haven't aged well. Oh, who'da thunk it? Well, unfortunately, that seems to be all the material that Dave has. In one of his most recent Netflix specials, Dave decided that it was his time and his stage and he could do whatever he wants. So apparently what he wanted to do was make fun of the LGBTQ+ community, spewing trash jokes not worth quoting or repeating or looking up. So if you're curious how bad it was, let me just sum it up by saying they were rough enough to have Dave's fans turn on him immediately. Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos actually defended the comedian, claiming that he had artistic freedom, even after a group of Netflix employees and transgender advocates staged a virtual walkout. He later apologized and said that he handled the situation poorly. Oh, poor Ted, accidentally supporting a bigot. Number 2, Will Smith. Whoa, Will Smith canceled himself? How? Yeah, I'm just kidding. We all know this one by now. In 2022, Chris Rock was hosting the 94th annual Oscar ceremony when he decided to make a little joke about Jada Pinkett Smith and her hair loss. Rock expressed his excitement to see Jada in a fictional G.I. Jane movie. Immediately following the joke, which landed for everybody else in the audience, Rock stood in confusion as Will Smith made his way to the stage. Will adjusted his jacket, he took a firm, strong stance, and then he just clocked Chris right in the face. He winded up his hand first to conjure the ultimate amount of force. It was kind of impressive. Initially being seen as a planned joke between the two, Will then began shouting several times at Rock to keep his wife's name out of his frickin' mouth. Chris handled the situation well. He kept his cool, he laughed it off for the cameras, and he brought out the next award presenter. He was a gem, he did it so well. He was professional and quick to get the night back on track. Unfortunately though, an hour later, Will Smith won the Oscar for Best Actor in a Leading Role. He played Richard Williams, the father of tennis superstars Venus and Serena Williams. During his speech, he gave a half-hearted apology for his actions before claiming the situation was due to his months of portraying the father on set, leaving him with an extreme paternal sense to protect his family. Unfortunately for Will, that slap was enough to get him banned from the Oscars. On top of that, he seemingly canceled himself, now being seen as an aggressive man with no impulse control. He was fired from upcoming projects, and he currently sits at home all day polishing his one and only Oscar next to a single candle in the darkest room of his mansion. And at number 1, Kanye West. Hey look, it's Cancelled McGee! Man, I love Kanye West. Whenever it comes to the worst celebrities that have ruined their own careers, this guy is always gonna be number 1. Now, I've written a small poem inspired by Dr. Seuss just to remind the viewers at home exactly what Kanye did to get cancelled. So, here we go. Ye was a rapper who lived in LA. He decided to ruin his rep though one day. He typed and he clicked to his little heart's content. He said racist stuff. He needed to vent. He posted to Twitter to share all his woes. The world said no thank you, it's time that he goes. He was cancelled and soiled his semi-good name. He chose anger and hate over fortune and fame. His clothes all got burned and his wife left his home. No more sponsors, no more Kim. Kanye was alone. What was worse still, keeping Ye in the dumps? His only friend got arrested. Poor Donald Trump. Number 10. James Gunn. James Gunn is single-handedly responsible for the success of Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. In the comics, the team were a tight-knit crew of basically space pirates that turn good and guard the galaxy from evil. However, they were considered a lower-tier team, and when it was announced that Marvel Studios would be producing a live-action origin flick, fans were skeptical to say the least. But after seeing the first trailer for Guardians, we knew the world was in for a treat. James has been making moves on the silver screen for years, directing some of my personal favorites like the live-action Scooby-Doo movies from the early 2000s and some of his horror movies like Slither and Dawn of the Dead. In summer 2018, it was announced that Disney would be letting James go as the director of Guardians of the Galaxy 3 after a right-wing media personality resurfaced a series of tweets from as far back as 2009. Disney tweeted, "The offensive attitude and statements discovered on James's Twitter feed are indefensible and inconsistent with our studio values." Okay, Disney, go watch the original Peter Pan movie and then tell me more about your values. Now, we can't actually discuss the content of these tweets as the material was extremely graphic and honestly just not worth repeating. The tweets were intended to be a joke, which they always are, but it just made James seem like creepy and gross. James publicly apologized for his words, with several of his former employees and co-stars claiming nothing but positivity from Gunn. In fact, the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy signed a collective letter stating they would refuse to be involved without James behind the wheel. While James was cancelled by Marvel though, their arch nemesis DC Comics swooped in to use his creative insanity and put it to good use. You see, he wrote and directed the End Yourself Squad, rewriting DC's history after their failed attempt to adapt the team in 2016. He did such a good job that Disney was forced to rescind their actions and bring James back for the final film in the trilogy. But James, however, stepped down from any future Disney roles and is now basically in charge of every DC movie or TV show coming out in the near future. His sense of humor may be warped, but hey, we can't wait to see what he brings to the table. Number 9. Chrissy Teigen. In May of 2021, an individual by the name of Courtney Stodden, a pageant model and media personality, claimed that fellow model and media star Chrissy Teigen had publicly bullied them on Twitter for years. Chrissy was accused of regularly tweeting that she wished Courtney would take a permanent dirt nap or to just straight up end herself. Apparently, Chrissy harbored some kind of jealousy towards Courtney's success and decided to take it online instead of, just like not doing that. Chrissy quickly apologized for the tweets and DMs, which were sent as recently as 2019. She tweeted, "I'm sad and mortified at who I used to be. I was an insecure, attention-seeking troll, and I'm ashamed and completely embarrassed at my behavior. But that is nothing compared to how I made Courtney feel." Chrissy then decided to delete her social medias following a slew of backlash for her actions, eventually leading to her being fired from or leaving any job she had been on, both on and off screen. Next time, just keep your jealousy balled up deep inside like the rest of us. Number 8. Iggy Azalea. In 2015, Australian pop sensation Iggy Azalea had to cancel her headline appearance at that year's Pittsburgh Pride event in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This was seemingly in response to several of the LGBTQ groups set to be vendors at this event canceling due to her involvement. Iggy has a history of offensive language that she's been able to avoid before, but this one was the breaking point. She posted several homophobic and anti-LGBTQ tweets, including one which she stated that when guys whisper in each other's ears, I always think it's kinda homo. Hey, joke's on her. We're usually whispering about how trashy she is and, trucks and stuff. I don't know. Man. She made several other tweets that aren't worth sharing or discussing, but needless to say, she made a lot of people very mad. She was asked to step down from the show and later released a public apology at one point, stating that she's a firm believer in equality. Unfortunately, in her past, as a young person, she used words that she should not have. Man, she still uses words now like that, so I don't know, take this one with a big old grain of salt. Number 7. Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart is the little man with a big heart. He's been making audiences cry with laughter since he graduated high school and began performing stand-up in the early 90s. He went from open mics to open ceiling stadiums, once even selling out an entire football stadium for a Netflix special called What Now? His career has been a series of ups with minimal downs, but one massive down came in 2018 when it was announced that Kevin Hart was forced to step down from his position as that year's Oscars host, after a series of old tweets and stand-up bits were shared with the Academy. In 2010, he released a special called Seriously Funny, in which he tells a joke about preventing his son from becoming gay. He once tweeted that if he ever found out that his son was gay, that he would break a dollhouse over his head. Okay, that's not funny. He made quite a few comments towards the LGBTQ community that are not worth repeating or Googling. Let's just chalk it up to rough. It's just very rough. He eventually apologized for his views and comments, claiming his behavior was homophobic and just plain rude. Despite his apology, the Academy felt that it was necessary to replace Kevin as the host of their 2019 ceremony. He's still making moves left and right to this day, but the quality of those films has dropped severely. Just check out Ride Along and then immediately watch Man from Toronto. You'll get it. Number 6, Amanda Bynes. She's the man and now she's the band. Why am I like this? Amanda Bynes first got us cracking laughs when she starred in the Nickelodeon series All That, a Saturday Night Live style kids show featuring various kid actors and sketches that honestly held up pretty well over time. Eventually, she was cast to star in her own sketch show named after herself, featuring former All That co-stars and newbies like Josh Peck, Drake Bell, and Taran Killam, who along with all-star cast member Kenan Thompson eventually did go on to star on SNL. It's pretty cool. Amanda moved from Nickelodeon to the silver screen with massive success, starring in comedy hits like She's the Man, Easy A, and Hairspray. Her career seemed to be skyrocketing, which is why it was really strange when in 2013 she announced on Twitter she'd be taking a break from acting to focus on herself, claiming that being a celebrity just wasn't all it's cracked up to be. But around the same time, she had been arrested for a DUI and was dealing with some serious legal drama. It seems like, much like many on this list, Amanda blew off some steam by tweeting about all the people that she hated. She called out everyone from Canadian treasure and rapper Drake to the president at that time, Barack Obama, and his wife Michelle. She called people ugly, talentless, and just posted rant after rant with seemingly no reason. It was later revealed that Amanda was suffering from mental health issues at the time, but despite that revelation, her tweets, along with her overall bad girl persona that seemed to be rising, was enough to have her stamped as a do not hire. Number 5, J.K. Rowling. Man, as a Harry Potter geek, this one actually stinks. J.K. Rowling is known for being the author of the much-loved Harry Potter book series that was eventually adapted into 7 glorious magical movies and Order of the Phoenix. In June 2020, Rowling retweeted an op-ed piece that discussed people who menstruate, apparently taking issue with the fact that the article didn't use the word women. She tweeted, "People who menstruate. I'm sure there used to be a word for those people. Someone help me out. A woman, wimpund, Wumud. While this tweet garnered massive amounts of backlash from fans, Rowling actually doubled down on her views in much more detail. She tweeted, "If gender isn't real, there is no same gender attraction. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of gender removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives." She went on to say that she respected trans people's right to live any way that feels authentic to them, but at the same time, my life has been shaped by being female. Okay, JK, calm down. She claimed it wasn't wrong to speak the truth and be proud, but like dude, no, it's not. Everyone in the world called JK out for her comments and views, with the live-action Harry Potter stars even taking to Twitter to call out her behavior and stand with the trans community. JK's publishers dropped her from the roster, and the future of her writing career has gone up in smoke straight from the Death Eater's butt. Number 4, Roseanne Barr. In the late 80s, Roseanne starred in a sitcom titled after herself. She starred alongside Hollywood heavyweight John Goodman in a series that followed the couple's everyday life as a working class family. The show aired for 230 episodes, eventually being canceled in the mid-90s. The show was eventually revived, however, in 2018 as the same wholesome content just for a new generation. Unfortunately for Roseanne, sitcom producers have Twitter. Her show was quickly re-canceled, only a few hours following Barr posting a tweet about Valerie Jarrett, telling the world that she was the product of Planet of the Apes and a certain brotherhood having a baby. She later apologized for the tweets, but the damage was done. ABC Entertainment President Channing Dungey said in a statement that Roseanne's Twitter statement is abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with their values. Again, with the values! Barr actually defended her tweets, saying they were not racist, but in fact, a joke. Yeah, those can be the same thing, Rosie. Number 3, Vanessa Hudgens. In March of 2020, the world was shut down, and many people found the online world to be their only solace. But for former High School Musical star Vanessa Hudgens, however, it was the perfect time to express her opinions on the current situation. She tweeted, "Even if everybody gets it, like, Yeah, people are going to pass away, which is terrible, but inevitable? She was responding to then President Donald Trump's posts claiming that the country would remain closed until July of that year. Well, her comments received massive backlash and her account was temporarily deleted. Yeah, and we haven't seen her in anything recently, so that's probably evidence enough there. Yeah, too bad she can't sing her way out of this life problem. Number 2, CeeLo Green. He saw you driving around town with the girl he loved and he's like, forget you. Still catchy. CeeLo Green was a successful music producer and artist, best known for the songs Crazy, F You, and even Kung Fu Fightin'. It turns out that he has a bit of a dark side, however, as in 2012 he stood trial for possession of a controlled substance and giving said substance to a woman without her knowledge. While the prosecutors never pressed charges, CeeLo took to Twitter to say, hey man, if someone is passed out, they're not even with you consciously, so with would imply consent. Yeah, no it doesn't! Hey, hey, no it doesn't. He then tweeted something I literally can't quote or this video will be demonetized. Shortly after posting this, he deleted the tweets, but the internet had already copy and pasted and reposted his comments to the point of his account being removed entirely. To CeeLo, we say a nice big F you. Number 1, Kanye West. Shocker, it's the king of controversy himself, Kanye West. I know he goes by Ye now, but I don't care. Kanye may have been a famous rapper, but we can agree that he is now best known for being Kim Kardashian's crazy ex-husband. In 2019, Kanye released a series of tweets just also full of demonetizable content. He said horrible things about several races and religions to the point where his account was completely shut down and he was banned by Twitter itself. His account went dark and the dominoes of bad luck began falling down one by one on Kanye's face. His shoe brand was discontinued, his wife cheated on and divorced him, and his best friend in the whole wide world got kicked out of the office and replaced by Joe Biden. I'd feel bad for the guy, but again, I do not care about him, I just don't. Number 10, Johnny Depp in The Lone Ranger. Johnny Depp and Disney have had a long and fruitful relationship together. Between 2005 and 2015, Johnny Depp was Disney's go-to boy when they needed a character to be played and to be iconic. In 2013, he took on the role of playing a character named Tonto, a Native American man who acts as the sidekick to the titular Lone Ranger. The first issue people had with this project was of course Johnny not being a Native American man. The second was the portrayal of his character. In the film, Tonto spends a large portion of the movie sporting a rather lifelike bird on his head, which many found to be making fun of traditional headdresses. When the backlash began to plague the film, the director and Johnny spoke out in defense of the project. According to Johnny, he did not want to play the same character from the original TV series, rather develop his own take on the classic character. The headdress is adorned with a real dead bird because his version of Tonto is known to be an eccentric and strange man, claiming that this was a character choice to show how wild that he was. The film was released and it was a massive flop at the box office, but it seems that it wasn't Johnny's performance, as he continued to work well after that, right up until his ex said that he went poo-poo into bed. Number 9, Benedict Cumberbatch in Zoolander 2. Benedict may be well known for playing iconic characters like Sherlock Holmes or Doctor Strange, but in 2016 he decided to make a cameo. It was in poor taste, man. It was not a good choice. The popular and zany comedy flick Zoolander, starring Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller, received the sequel treatment 15 years after its initial release. The sequel followed Ben and Owen being pulled back into the model world, where they team up with Interpol after becoming the targets of a sinister plot. The film was not well received, but featured fun cameos from stars like Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, and Benedict Cumberbatch. Benedict's cameo was a bit different than everyone else's though. He played a character named All, a non-binary fashion model. For anyone who doesn't know, non-binary refers to someone who does not identify as male or female and usually uses the pronouns they, them. The film decided to just roast that concept over and over again instead of respecting everyone's choices to their identity. The writers decided to give Ben some very cringy and strange lines, and his choices as an actor were difficult to understand. He played the character as some kind of a magical, mystical figure, like being non-binary makes you a wizard or something. He received massive backlash and was almost cancelled, but thankfully his role was overshadowed by the general trash of the project, and he starred in Doctor Strange for the first time, so everyone just kind of forgot that this happened and moved on. Number 8, Eddie Redmayne in The Danish Girl. Eddie has had a few regrets over his career, but today we're talking about the one that almost got him canned from Hollywood forever. In 2015, Eddie starred in the film The Danish Girl, portraying the character Lily Elby, considered to be a pioneer among the LGBTQ+ community. As the first woman to ever receive a gender change game-changing operation. The film received critical acclaim and was nominated for several Oscars. However, the audience reaction was just a bit different. Many viewers took issue with the fact that Eddie is not a trans woman, believing that the role should have gone to someone that identifies as such. Redmayne delivered an incredible performance according to his co-stars, but the cast and crew understood why there was so much backlash towards his character. In fact, Eddie himself spoke about the situation not long after the Oscar ceremony and claimed that this project was a mistake. He made the film with the best intentions, but in retrospect he probably should have passed on this one. Thankfully, due to the crew and cast acknowledging these issues, Eddie's career remained uncancelled. Number 7. Scarlett Johansson in Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell was a 2017 live-action movie based on the popular anime film of the same name. The film starred Scarlett Johansson in the leading role of Motoko Kusanagi, a Japanese woman. Hang on, that can't be right. Oh yeah, no, that is. Okay. The character Scarlett is based on was originally voiced by a Japanese woman and of course was drawn as such. So when it was announced that Scarlett would be the lead, fans immediately flooded the movie with backlash. It wasn't just Scarlett though. Once again, Hollywood was taking a Japanese property and neglecting to cast almost any Japanese actors in significant roles. Despite the massive backlash and whitewashing on Hollywood's part, the film was released and it went about as well as you would expect. The movie itself was not great. It had some terrible CGI, the performances just felt wrong on all counts, and it just overall made people want to walk into the projection booth and throw on the original 1995 movie instead. In fact, this film received so much hatred that Scarlett was forced to drop out of another project where she was set to play a trans character for the fear that one more bad decision would land her on Hollywood's cancelled list. Thankfully, there have only been a handful of live-action anime movies since 2017, but it's looking like Netflix might be on track to change that pretty soon. Number 6. Jake Gyllenhaal in The Prince of Persia. Jake has worked with Disney on several projects over the years in everything from Bubble Boy to Spider-Man Far From Home. He's been a consistently solid performer with only one little blemish on his record. Jake was cast to portray the titular Prince of Persia in a 2010 live-action movie based on the 1989 platformer of the same name. In case the title didn't give it away, the prince is meant to be a Persian man, which Jake is not. The casting department decided to remedy this situation by simply darkening his skin a little bit and giving him a beard. Like, come on, Disney, was there nobody else you could think of? Like, I love Jake Gyllenhaal as much as the next guy. This man is the chaotic good that we all need in our lives. But like, nobody looked at him on the shoot day and went, something doesn't feel right about this, guys. Disney was hoping the film was going to launch a new franchise in the vein of Pirates of the Caribbean, but it ended up costing the studio millions of dollars and almost cost Jake his career. Thankfully, he came out and apologized for taking on the role. He was just a fan of the original games and was excited to play the character. So, cancellation diverted. Number 5. James Corden in The Prom. The former Late Late host has branched off into movie roles a few times, starring in projects like Into the Woods and Cats. In 2020, he snagged the part of Barry Glickman in the musical The Prom, playing a character who is openly gay and playing the character with every single stereotype imaginable. As a straight man, many people were calling him out for his eccentric, over-the-top portrayal of a gay man. It would be one thing if he was consistently flamboyant, but he seems to pick and choose which moments to be more outgoing and which moments to dial back. According to critics of the film, James was the most offensive and horrifically bad part of this movie. Following the release of the project on streamers, his fate was almost sealed entirely. In fact, James is one of the few people on this list who actually were cancelled for being so bad and offensive in their role. With his late night show being taken off the air and him currently sitting at home wondering when that next gig is gonna come. Number 4. Sacha Baron Cohen in Borat 2. Borat was released in 2016, and in case you haven't seen it, here's a brief summary. Jesus. Kazakh TV host Borat is dispatched to the United States to report on the greatest country in the world. The film was shot as a documentary/hidden camera style show. Anyone involved in interviews or one-on-one moments didn't actually know that Borat was a fictional character. While initially the film received massive backlash, particularly from the people of Kazakhstan, it's since been praised as a comedy cult classic and for bringing the tourism industry back to the country of Kazakhstan. Now, it's no surprise that a sequel was eventually made, and while it took a few years, Amazon stepped up and dropped Borat's subsequent movie film in 2020. The sequel was just as fun as the first one, only this time the crude humor was amped up to 1,000,000. Seriously, if you are squeamish at all, do not watch this movie. However, Sasha was almost cancelled by a group of personal pew-pew activists in Washington. During a segment, Sasha is pretending to be a country musician at a rally when he starts singing something that I can't repeat because the same thing might happen to me. Basically, he was for everything that these people were against. So, guess what happened? Guess what? They aimed at him. That's right, a crowd of people just turned on him and he was forced to hide in an ambulance, where he stayed for almost half an hour before finally being able to pull out. Thankfully, nothing bad happened and he was safe and sound. Now, I know that had nothing to do with him actually being like canceled, but it's a neat story, and thanks to YouTube, being canceled can mean a lot of things that I would need to bleep out. Number 3, Tilda Swinton in Doctor Strange. The Ancient One is a Marvel Comics character who first debuted in 1963. Now, if you are not someone who reads comics, then you probably didn't notice or care about this one, but unfortunately Marvel fans are loud and love to be right. The character was drawn as an old Asian man with a big white beard and continued to maintain that appearance for a very long time, until 2017 when Tilda Swinton was casted to play the live-action version in Doctor Strange. Her version was bald and, according to the director, Celtic in origin. When the news of her casting was announced, many hardcore Marvelians were quick to claim whitewashing on Marvel's part. In fact, the hate was so hardcore that there was an online petition going around getting signatures of people who planned to bog down the reviews with purposefully bad scores, which would have just made this movie look terrible. However, Marvel actually listened to their fans, and CEO Kevin Feige released a statement claiming that Marvel had no ill intentions when casting Tilda and now realized that they handled the casting poorly. Tilda herself praised Marvel for speaking up and acknowledging their mistake while simultaneously apologizing for her part in the controversy. It seems that when you fess up to something and apologize properly, that the world forgives you. The film released and fans were pleasantly surprised with her performance. While still not a great move on Marvel's part, her character has only appeared in 2 movies so far, and the controversy seems to have died down. Number 2, Daniel Craig in James Bond. He likes some shaking, not stirred. Daniel has been playing the super spy since 2006's Casino Royale and has appeared in 5 movies, with his most recent flick being delayed and eventually released in 2021. Daniel may be loved by fans now, but when the news first broke, fans were extremely disappointed, and it was all due to his physical stature, of course. Many fans of the original series claimed that Daniel was too short and that James didn't have blonde hair, while others were simply just nervous about his ability to carry an action sequence. Greg was upset with the fans, but he admitted that there wasn't much that he could do apart from deliver a stellar performance. The public outcry of the time was so loud that the studios were extremely nervous about the ticket sales, but thankfully their nerves were calmed after the first 10 minutes of the movie, when it was obvious that Daniel was about to be the James Bond for a very long time. With the 5th entry rumored to be his last, who knows who the next James Bond might be? My vote is Seth Rogen. Number 1, Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder. Alright, here's an example of a man who did something terrible in a movie, but once people found out why, it was all chill. For those who have not seen this movie, I recommend it to anyone that is a fan of outrageous and raunchy comedies. This is not a family movie. Good lord, this is not a family movie. Directed by and starring Ben Stiller, the movie followed a fictional film crew attempting to make a gritty war movie, but they're accidentally dropped into the middle of an actual conflict in Vietnam. The cast was stellar. It included the likes of Jack Black, Jay Baruchel, Tom Cruise, and of course, Robert Downey Jr. Now, Robert played a character named Kirk Lazarus, who is a 5-time Oscar-winning Australian method actor who gets casted as an African-American staff sergeant named Lincoln Osiris. You see where this is going? Kirk undergoes a controversial pigmentation alteration procedure to darken his skin, something that he intends to stick with until after he has done the DVD commentary. Now, when the trailer was released and RDJ was spotted in blackface, it was no surprise that people were extremely confused and a little bit angry, like, were we about to cancel Robert right when he started playing Iron Man? Well, despite the backlash and the initial shock, once people saw the movie, the message was very clear. Robert wasn't playing himself putting on the face, but rather playing an actor who chose to put on the face, being a decision that his character made and not himself. The bit is actually addressed several times by the only black lead of the film, Brandon T. Jackson, and in the end, Kirk realizes what he's doing is super offensive, and he doesn't need to pretend to be someone that he's not just to be a good actor. The movie was meant to be a parody of Hollywood, and in the end, fans really just just enjoyed the movie so much that the backlash died down basically immediately.
And at number 10, terrible ratings. After everything that happened with Ellen's cancellation in 2020, she thought she would come back on air for her 18th season with an apology and it would all be fine, but that was not the case, and many fans did not accept her lame apology. After a few shows, it was clear that the scandal lost her a large portion of her audience and her ratings were tanking. Apparently over 1/3 of her loyal viewers had stopped watching, which started to become a huge concern for the TV execs. Part of the reason why was that she didn't have A-list guests on her show. There was a rumor that the show was struggling to book high-caliber stars because they didn't want to be seen on her show. After the dismal start, Ellen announced that this season would be her last and she will not be coming back on air for next season. Many think she wanted to quit before she was fired. And at number 9, Drew Barrymore feud. Drew Barrymore and Ellen seem like similar people on the surface, but behind the scenes there is tons of tension, and they are no longer friendly after a big falling out. The two worked alongside each other on a new NBC show called First Dates. Ellen was a producer while Drew was the host, and almost immediately tension started when they had different views on the project. The show was described by the network as a groundbreaking series that would explore all of the simple wonders of a first date. Apparently Ellen expected to be the one calling the shots, but Drew believed she should have creative control because she was the movie star that people were tuning in to see. The show ended after one season, so they didn't have to work alongside each other for long, but it's still a touchy subject. And at number 8, a photo with George W. Bush. Before her main scandal of having a toxic workplace, Ellen was exposed for being friends with former Republican President George W. Bush. Many felt that since Ellen is a vocal Democrat, there's no way she could be friends with someone who holds such different views from hers. Former President Bush was photographed laughing with DeGeneres in autumn of 2019 at an NFL match between the Dallas Cowboys and Green Bay Packers. After a photo of them together went viral, Ellen spoke on her show and tried to set the record straight, telling her audience, quote, "Here's the thing, I'm friends with George Bush. In fact, I'm friends with a lot of people who don't share the same beliefs I have. We're all different, and I think we've forgotten that that's okay, that we're all different. When I say be kind to one another, I don't only mean the people who think the same way that you do." The reaction was very controversial. And at number 7, former bodyguard. After many people came out revealing personal experiences that they had with Ellen, a bodyguard that worked for her at the 2014 Oscars exposed that he had a terrible time working with her that night. Tom Majikak was hired to protect DeGeneres, her mother, and her wife Portia de Rossi as they attended the 86th Academy Awards, which Ellen was hosting. But apparently the experience was very demeaning. He told Fox News, quote, "I'm holding their hands and walking them through individuals and large groups of people. Ellen is the one person that I've been assigned to, and I've been assigned to quite a few celebrities in the past, that has never taken the time to say hi to me." The bodyguard said that Ellen's wife, Portia de Rossi, was very pleasant and kind, and it was really just Ellen that was rude. Adding, quote, "It was very cold and it was very sly, and it was actually kind of demeaning in a way that she treats people other than those who are in her circle." And at number 6, Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin is known for getting in feuds with other celebrities, and thankfully she does not hold anything back when exposing how terrible other celebrities can be. Her feud with Ellen has gone on so long that she even trashed Ellen in her book. Griffin even claims she's banned from Ellen's talk show because of their beef. In Kathy Griffin's book she said, quote, "I'm almost positive a certain beloved daytime talk show host once had me kicked out of a backstage dressing room at the Emmy Awards." When describing what this person looked like, Griffin continued, quote, "This person who has short blonde hair has a mean streak that all of Hollywood knows about." Funny enough, the feud started back in 2007 because Griffin did a comedy set where she joked about how mean that Ellen really was. Clearly some foreshadowing. Halfway number 5, Steve Jobs. Thankfully Ellen and Steve Jobs never got into a feud, I guess that we know of, but she did show Jobs just how entitled that she was. A former producer for Ellen's show said that the host once called Steve Jobs to complain about the font sizes on iPhones. Apparently Ellen lost her glasses and wasn't able to read a text on her phone, and she blamed the phone for that issue. The producer added, quote, "She stopped everything and made a call. Next thing we know, we literally hear Steve Jobs pick up and say, 'Hi Ellen.' Ellen told him the iPhone should have a bigger font." The producer added that she's not an evil person, however she is incredibly privileged and doesn't realize that her behavior is not normal. The producer added, quote, "It's not that she's some demon, she just lives in an incredibly privileged bubble and is out of touch with the real world." I wonder what Steve Jobs thought about that call. And at number 4, Brad Garrett. Ellen is beloved by celebrities, so back when she was in the midst of her scandal, very few celebrities had the guts to speak out against her. Thankfully, Everybody Loves Raymond star Brad Garrett shared the truth with his fans. Garrett posted a link to an article discussing the Ellen scandal, and he agreed with the article, claiming her mistreatment of employees was common knowledge. He wrote, quote, "Sorry, but it comes from the top, the Ellen show. No more than one who were treated horribly by her. Common knowledge." Then Back to the Future star Leah Thompson agreed, responding to a tweet from People magazine about Garrett's comment, writing, quote, True story it is. And at number 3, stole from charity. If you've seen Ellen's show, you know she likes to give stuff away to her audience. But one time she gave away lottery tickets that were supposed to go towards children's education, and a lot of people were angry. In 1984, California voters approved the state lottery with an understanding that 34% of sales revenue would go towards education, so it was a net good for society. However, on one episode of her show, she gave each audience member $500 worth of these lottery tickets. One whistleblower for the lottery company came forward after, saying the tickets were worth over $200,000, and someone should cover the cost so the proceeds still go to children as intended. Hopefully the show made a big donation after that episode. And at number 2, exposed Mariah Carey. During Ellen's cancellation in 2020, this was a clip that went completely viral because Ellen was using disturbing tactics to get the inside scoop on if Mariah Carey was pregnant or not. Back in 2008, when Mariah Carey came on the Ellen Show, there had been rumors circulating that Mariah may be pregnant. However, instead of respecting her wishes to not mention these rumors or further speculate, Ellen forced her to address it on air. After Mariah would not give her a straight answer on her pregnancy, Ellen decided to bring out some champagne for the ladies. This put Mariah in an impossible position because if she didn't drink, everyone would know she was pregnant. Despite all of Mariah's refusing to take part in Ellen's game, she was eventually backed into a corner. Mariah then took a small sip from the glass. That prompted Ellen to start shouting that Mariah is pregnant. It turned out that Mariah was pregnant, but sadly, she would have a miscarriage just a few days later. And finally, at number 1, Trisha Paytas. Trisha Paytas has had a ton of experiences with celebrities during her time in Hollywood. Before she became a well-known YouTuber, she decided to go on the Ellen Show to show off her talents for speed reading. It was back in 2010 when Trish was only 22 and was very new to the industry. Paytas spoke about her 2010 appearance on the Ellen Show during an episode of her podcast Frenemies, which she hosted with H3's Ethan Klein, calling controversial help. In that episode, she called Ellen a bitch and said that she wasn't allowed to touch her or look Ellen in the eye. Trish continued on the show, quote, "When all that stuff started coming out about Ellen, I was like, that makes sense because she was so awful. Literally would not talk. They tell you, don't look her in the eyes, don't touch her." And since Trish had a first-hand experience with her, we know it's true. And at number 10, Ellen DeGeneres. In 2020, Ellen went through one of the biggest scandals of all time when it was exposed that she was not the friendly, nice dancing lady that we see on screen, and behind the scenes she was incredibly mean. Ellen's fall from niceness all started when one of DeGeneres' former employees, Kevin T. Porter, tweeted out that Ellen was, quote, "notoriously one of the meanest people alive," and the replies of the tweet shared tons of negative interactions that people had with Ellen over the years. This sparked a whole wave of exposing of not only Ellen, but her show as well. Then it was revealed that her show also had a toxic work environment and her staff were verbally berated constantly. There were even reports of inappropriate conduct by high-level producers of the show, which resulted in a number of the top producers getting fired. As of now, Ellen is set to end her long reign on daytime TV after this season is finished. And at number 9, Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams is notorious for her controversial opinions on her show that constantly get her in hot water. This year, she got tons of backlash after she made some insensitive comments while talking about a TikToker named Swaby. Wendy started off the segment saying she had no idea who he was and nobody in the audience would probably know either. Then she started talking about his TikTok followers and how he has more followers than her. Then her producer named Norman chimed in that Wendy actually has more followers than him on Instagram, not TikTok. Then out of nowhere, Wendy explains the reason that they're even talking about him is because he was killed. He died at the age of 19, and Wendy described the situation while adding that nobody is currently in custody, so the case will most likely not be solved. This clip then went viral online with people calling out Wendy for how strange and insensitive the segment was. Swaby's mother, Chanel Clark, told Philadelphia's CBS 3 that she didn't appreciate Williams' commentary. Quote, "Like as a mother, Wendy Williams, how dare you? So disrespectful. I used to watch you as a child and even though you have a gossip show and all that, you didn't even know my son." And at number 8, Amber Heard. Amber Heard has been in a messy divorce battle with her ex Johnny Depp for years now. Many online believe she is a liar and more evidence keeps mounting that she probably is. Some body camera footage from a pivotal night in their divorce battle was released this year, showing their apartment in 2016. The footage shows a tidy apartment, which is a stark contrast to what Amber claimed in her original testimony. And Depp and his lawyers believe that this proves that Amber lied when she said that Depp trashed their apartment that night. And that's why their relationship ended. Heard has given evidence in multiple legal cases saying that Depp hurled a phone at her face and trashed their penthouse kitchen during the May 2016 dust-up. But now it looks like that was not the case. And this is fueling even more backlash against the actress and support for Johnny Depp. And number 7, Lea Michele. Lea Michele used to be the queen of musical theater, making a name for herself on the hit show Glee. But that all changed in 2020 when she got called out by plenty of her former cast and crewmates, saying she was a rude and entitled brat. The person who kicks this off was Samantha Ware. She started the entire downfall of Lea Michele after she called out Michelle for the way that she acted on the set of Glee. When Lea Michele posted tweets in support of George Floyd after his death, Ware decided to call out Michelle on the hypocrisy. She commented, quote, "Remember when you made my first television
gig a living hell, adding that Michelle was microaggressive towards her and even threatened her. After this, plenty more people of color that Lea Michele had worked with came forward to expose her. As of now, she's just laying low and hasn't been cast in a project in years. And at number 6, James Charles. James Charles was at one point the biggest beauty YouTuber on the platform. He was so popular that he even got major celebrities to collaborate with him on his channel, like Kylie Jenner and Doja Cat. But there have been so many ups and downs in his career, it seems that the beauty community is just tired of him. James has been at the center of some of the biggest cancellations on YouTube. And after his recent 2021 cancellation, I think his career is done for good. Specifically because in 2021, he was cancelled for the exact same thing that he was cancelled for back in 2019 during Bye Sister. He owned up to his problematic behavior in a video, then left the internet for about 4 months. Then when he came back, his channel had a significant drop. James used to get over 5 million views a video easily, but now he struggles to get about 2 million. Of course, these are still massive numbers, but it's clear that there's been a noticeable decline. Halfway number 5, Shane Dawson. Shane Dawson was basically the king of YouTube in 2020. He had multiple massive docu-series that were breaking the internet, and he was doing numbers that nobody had seen on the platform. But that all changed when problematic behavior from his past resurfaced. It was exposed that he was a key part of James Charles' original Bye Sister cancellation, and he wasn't the nice empath that he'd been portraying for years. Shane stayed off the internet for about a year and a half before coming back with a haunted series for Halloween in 2021. Although, like we've seen in other cases, his return was not well received and his series got a fraction of what his past ones usually did. And at number 4, Sia. Sia is best known as an iconic singer, but she decided to take a dive into directing, and it got her cancelled. She decided to create and direct a movie called Music about a girl with autism. The movie was star-studded, including Kate Hudson and the cast, who won a Golden Globe for her performance. After the film was released, it faced extensive backlash. Many found the film damaging to the autistic community, along perpetuating stereotypes about the condition. Sia also got backlash for deciding to cast Maddie Ziegler, her longtime dancer, in that role instead of an actual autistic person. As of now, the reviews for the movie are atrocious, with only a 14% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. And at number 3, Zoe Laverne. Zoe Laverne was cancelled in 2020 after a leaked video showed her kissing a the fan was 13 and had become friends with Zoe at the time, and since Zoe was 19, this is disgusting. After the video went viral, there were rumors that she had been arrested, but we later learned that was not the case. She later took to Instagram Live to address the video, saying she didn't do anything wrong with Connor, adding, quote, "I wouldn't do that to him. I literally love Connor to death. I wouldn't do anything to him ever without consent. Connor and I both consented to kissing. That's how it went. We both liked each other, and then we realized that the ages were too different. Nothing happened between us besides kissing." And the fact that she was defending it just makes it so much worse. She's been laying low on the internet ever since. And at number 2, Chrissy Teigen. Chrissy Teigen got cancelled in 2021 after it was exposed that she bullied other celebrities on Twitter in the past. These old tweets were incredibly shocking and problematic and proved what a nasty person that she could be. Courtney Stodden was the first person to bring up Chrissy's problematic behavior and expose the mean tweets that Chrissy tweeted about Courtney, including telling Courtney that they should, quote, "take a dirt nap." Chrissy apologized, writing, quote, "As you know, a bunch of my old awful tweets resurfaced. I'm truly ashamed of them, as I look at them and understand the hurt that they've caused." Although plenty of fans do not believe her apology is sincere. And finally, at number 1, Chris Noth. Following the release of the 2021 Sex and the City reboot called And Just Like That, actor Chris Noth has been accused of sexual crimes against multiple women. The women, who remained anonymous, said that the events happened in 2004 and 2015. Noth and these women had sexual relations which were either non-consensual or consent was granted after pressure. After the allegations became public, Peloton decided to pull their ad featuring the actor. Both women told The Hollywood Reporter that Noth's return to the Sex and the City franchise had triggered memories of their experiences with him years ago. Neither of the encounters were reported to police at the time. As of now, 5 women have come out against him. The 3 leading women on Sex and the City have also issued a statement supporting the women that have come out against Noth.